The Chande spun, tusks flared, as the cries of his brood vibrated through the gorge. Sounds of challenge, of aggression. His gaze followed the path of the running Yautja to a place in the rocks where... Ooman! Waka spoke behind him, but the words were swallowed in the frenzy. The Chande gave orders without looking. Tell Skemte to prepare flight, and gather those you can. Kisite! He ran, blade in hand. The hunt would have to be aborted, but the Ooman would die first. There was no other way. The Chande cursed mentally and ran faster. He was almost to the rocks when the noise of a craft started hitting him. Damn, if the Ooman got away it would bring others. He saw that at least 2 of the students had already made it to the place where he was headed. Chilonte and another. He couldn't tell. The small flying craft came over the rise and struck Chilonte at chest level. A single Ooman manned the ship, was balanced clumsily at the controls, hair swept back from an ugly, pale face. Chilonte scrabbled at the craft to hold on, but the Ooman ran the flyer close to a rock face. Chilonte's skull crashed against the cliff, and he fell suddenly boneless to the ground. The mint grey-green of his brain tissue, mixed with the darker phosphor green of his blood, spattered on the stone. Kijit! The hunt had not even begun, and already he had lost a student. Damn. The Ooman's craft was turned by the collision. It roared and swerved past the Chande, and headed straight for their ship, the Ooman's intentions unknown. The leader ran back toward the ship. He screamed the death cry to all. Kill the Ooman. It would pay with its life for the death of Chilonte. Revna ran to his bike, his stomach an empty hole. Stark terror made him fumble the starter. His hands shook uncontrollably. Start, please. Oh, please, start, start. He heard his own voice, and for a moment it sounded as if it belonged to somebody else. The cycle roared to life. Belief rushed through him. Cool and welcome. He stepped on the accelerator hard, thinking only of escape, and he flew directly into them. He topped the rock formation, his thoughts clouded with panic. Turn, turn, turn! Fool! One of the creatures leapt up in front of him. He tried to swerve, but it was too late. The impact jarred him from his seat. He would have fallen, except for the reflexive grab at the handles. The alien was huge. Revna caught a whiff of some musky, bitter oil. Its screech was one of pain and fury. It grabbed for him. Without thinking, Revna veered toward a cliff wall. The screaming thing smacked into the rocks, hard, and then was gone. He tried to regain control of the scooter, but the impact had thrown him into a turn, and the controls were damaged. He couldn't turn. The flyer responded sluggishly. All right, don't panic, it's okay. He would have to use speed to get past them. Have to go so fast they couldn't catch him, couldn't spear him. Another of the creatures reached for him, but he passed it. Revna smashed on the accelerator all the way forward as a blast of incredible heat blew by him. He ducked, felt his facial hair singe. The craft didn't want to alter its course. He was going to pass right next to the ship. Altitude. He had to get high enough so they couldn't grab him. The repellers still worked. He managed to trim the elevators and start to climb. 5 meters, 7. Still heading right at the ship, but he could clear it. Another blast of heat. This one splashed the underside of the flyer, cooked plastic and metal. The repellers coughed, and the craft dropped a meter, sputtered. That was no spear. They've got guns. Lasers, plasma rifles, Jesus. He raised his watering eyes just in time to see that he was headed for the alien craft at high speed, and that he wasn't going to clear it. He was going to hit it dead center. Miriam. It was his last thought before the world turned to fire. The Chande saw the Ooman fly at the ship, and he ran faster. Most of the students were clear, but at that speed, an impact could cause damage. Big damage. The tiny flyer smashed into the ship and blew apart in a fireball that shattered both craft. A second later came another blast, bigger than the first. Flame and debris sprayed, scorched rocks, moved boulders, knocked over delicate formations that had stood undisturbed for millions of years. Huge chunks of burning ship flew through the gully as the hunters were blown to the ground by the blast. After a moment, Tishinde stood and looked around at his fallen peers. He waited to hear direction from the leader, but there were no instructive cries. Other Yautja rose to their feet, dazed. Small pools of Ni burned, their flickerings reaching into the dusk, carrying in their fumes the smells of ash and soil and oily death. The leader had fallen not far from Tishinde. Several of the others stumbled with him to where Dachande lay. The leader was barely alive, his mandibles caked with thwei. Wreckage had hit him, knocked him into DKD, the sleep near death. A quick survey showed them that Walker, too, was dead, and the other blooded had been on the ship that still burned and smoked and looked now like nothing so much as a gutted crab. No one would be leaving this world on that vessel, and it would be weeks, months, years perhaps, before anybody came to look for them. Not good. When all of the students alive had gathered around Dachande, Tishinde counted. 10 of them. No transport, and no elder to tell them what would happen. What will we do? From Asigan. Dachande still breathes, said Gakayon. We could. You are a medic? Tishinde snorted. He is beyond the aid kits. Look at him. Let him die honourably of his wounds sustained in battle. He waved at the smoking ship. The human deliberately attacked us and killed our ship. Therefore, we will kill the humans. That is what we will do. Dachande lives, but his time is short. Asigan growled. Who proclaimed you leader? His voice was thick with contempt. You will not lead me, and hunting soft meat is forbidden to unblooded. Even a fool such as you knows this. Dachinde grinned and pointed his burner at the Oucher. Asigan took a step towards him, arms high. Dachinde fired. The blast blew Asigan against a pile of smoking rock. The others leapt back in surprise. Others dispute? Dachinde swung his burner in a circle. I will spill your thwei as easily as I do that of the Uman dogs later. This is not a hunt, as that dead slave to rules thought, but self-defense. We are allowed to defend ourselves from attack, are we not? Once again he waved at the ruins of their ship. None of the 9 disagreed. They watched him warily, hands closed to their own burners. There was a long moment when a challenge might have come, when one of the 9 might have taken it upon himself to raise his burner and try him, but that moment passed. If another would be leader, he would have to make his move, and none did. Dachinde smiled. They would follow him, reluctantly or not. He raised his staff to the sky and screamed of revenge. When Gakayon returned from the wreck and handed him the smouldering Uman skull a moment later, Dachinde crushed it with a bare claw to keep the approving hisses of the others. It had killed itself, and bravely in the doing, so it could not be a proper trophy, but there would be others to be earned. The Oucher chanted and howled their approval into the night. Dachinde sent them to scavenge for whole weapons and armour. They were stuck here, so be it. The humans would be sorry they dared attack the Oucher. Sorry they dared to cross blades with Dachinde. Very sorry.